this is something that I'm sure, well, actually, it actually surprised me how many couples deal with this, because it's not just America that is divided along political lines. Turns out, so are a lot of couples. Here's the estimate: 30% of adults, that seems like a lot, are in relationships with people who do not agree with their politics. And according to a new study, one of the biggest disagreements was where to get their news. So, do you tune in to watch the news on CNN or Fox? How do you agree what news to consume, or do you just do it separately? Now, this study found some couples came up with rules, like one got to pick the news in the morning, the other got to pick the news in the evening. But what do you all think of this, and how should couples who are in this situation negotiate this, Erica?
Ooh, well, I think a lot of this is generational, because my husband and I don't consume like news media in the same way that our parents do. And our parents, although one set is in Canada and the other set is, Midwest, are pretty much the same people when it comes to things like that. I was bringing up the idea that in 2020, especially, people started to really lean more into identity politics, even if they didn't necessarily identify it that way. Especially for me, I think of the social justice movement and being in an interracial marriage, asking some questions that may not have been explicitly asked or discussed before about ideology. And I think a lot of people did that, and they were surprised by their partner's answers. My husband and I have been very much on the same page about so much of this, because we had he's Canadian and I'm American, and we had discussions that I didn't have with people who may have grown up in Chicago with me or something like that. But I think a lot of people found themselves in situations they weren't prepared for.
Well, I think the thing is that we're using politics almost as a euphemism for life philosophy. And sometimes you're finding out your life partner's philosophy on the fly 12 years in. I mean, when we say politics, we throw that word around, but people don't. Jeff, you just figured out what a caucus was yesterday. People don't know what a Senate subcommittee is, or who they are, or where they meet. When we say politics, we're saying, how do you feel about the border? Do you feel like immigrants are people that came and remind you of your grandparents, or the people coming to take your stuff? Either way, that's how you feel. And when you find out your partner doesn't feel how you feel about your life philosophy, rather than, how we should fix our infrastructure, those are two very different things. And I think when we call it life philosophy, it makes it easier to understand why some couples might break up over life philosophy, not politics.
Yep, that's beautifully said. I was going to say, I grew up where I did know where Senate subcommittees were, because that was part of my world.
Where are they?
They are in different chambers, and they are on the right and left side of the Capitol with the dome that you see. And I don't think I could be married to someone that wasn't interested either in that world or held some strong beliefs in that world. I think Trump, and I hate to bring his name up, changed things for a lot of relationships. I think you were saying that earlier, Al, because he was so an aberration from the normal boring politics, right? And what I had a hard time with is being in a relationship where I want to make love and be with you all the time, when you are voting for someone that would hurt my friends, for policies that would hurt the people I love. I can't get down with that.
So that would be a red flag.
It would not only be a red flag, unfortunately, this is going to sound divisive. I'm not sure how well we would do.
How long have you been married? 10
years, and we are both very much on the same side. Both our parents are on the same side. We watch the same news. We consume the same news. Maybe that's an echo chamber.
I was going to say, is that always a good thing?
Right, and I'm saying perhaps not, but I'm also saying I have a hard time with someone who just doesn't care.
And Jeff, does it surprise you that 30% of couples deal with this?
No, I think a lot of people think like Tori. And for me, I wouldn't be married to Tori either, for her opinions on the left or her equivalent on the right. I don't like politics.
A few things.
Yeah.
You and Tori together.
Oh yeah, I know. That would never happen. But I'm saying a lot of people think like Tori. I didn't grow up with politics. My parents, I didn't even know what a Democrat was or Republican. My parents are very moderate. They're not outspoken. We didn't watch those types of programs growing up. I didn't know what a Democrat or Republican was till we started this show, and I had to start learning, because I'm like, I thought this was an entertainment show. Well, let me get my politics together, Yeah. And I didn't understand. So for me, having that point of view, not knowing, even though people outside judge me as a super hard right Republican, that's not who I am. You just kind of rubbed everybody, or you could put everyone in the same group as a Trump Republican, because you
MAGA, yeah, not Republican. I mean specifically
but
MAGA.
you just said someone who didn't vote the way that you wanted are hurting your friends. There's certain things that I agree with on the Republican side, and there's certain things I agree with on the Democratic side. But for you to just stick me into
I didn't stick you.
a box.
I didn't stick you.
Anyone who votes Republican to stick into
No,
a box.
listen to what I said. I said Republican and MAGA. If you vote for
No, you said
I said Trump specifically. I said that specifically.
That's not what I'm arguing about. I don't even care. That's why we're not married.
I think-
So I'm just saying, you can't even have a point of view anymore. Like discussions. Like I watch CNN in the morning and I watch Fox News so I could see both sides of what
How does
everyone's
that make
going
you
on.
feel when you watch both of them?
They're both
vastly
insane.
different.
It's the exact same question, but they're both having such outrageous outtakes on it, right? And I can't do that. So I kind of settle into podcasts along the way that people that think sensibly and moderately like I do. But you can't even have one Republican. If I said Trump, the economy was good with Trump, I'm a MAGA Republican. I'm all the way right. I don't like gay people. Everything under the sun. I grew up Catholic. Well, I must have been molested, or I'm a child molester. It's like people with their views are so outrageous. You can't even have a simple conversation anymore.
But what you're describing as
Final
well,
thought,
although
Erica.
you're identifying as moderate, you're also in an echo chamber because you're looking for people who are going to give it to you like you want to consume it. I think everyone is kind of doing that no matter where you are in all of this. I think what Tori was saying is the idea that the ideology, a lot of people glommed onto the idea of survival because they didn't feel like they had a choice. So when you're talking about ideology and identity politics, it is a matter of life and death. And we can all decide how we want to be, identified. You're talking about social media, which is such a small microcosm of the way that the world works, but those minority voices are so loud.
Yep.
So if you want to pick and choose anytime someone's coming for your particular subset of people, that's up to you. But ultimately, those ideas are going to be out there, and we're always out there. It's just our sensitivities to them.
But why can't we I know we got to go. Why can't we just have a conversation about those issues
You can't
instead of
have a
putting people in a
conversation.
box? I know, that's what I'm saying. That's what the problem is with America.
But your box might be someone else's field.